A second federal judge blocked the Trump administration Tuesday from removing some non-citizens under the Alien Enemies Act. In a 22-page decision, the U.S. District Judge, Alvin Hellerstein, said that because the Trump administration has not, quote, demonstrated the existence of a war, invasion, or predatory incursion, the use of the 18th century wartime law is not valid. However, the judge said the government can continue deporting people under the Immigration and Nationality Act, which gives the Secretary of State the power to remove those deemed a threat to U.S. foreign policy. The Trump administration has been relying on the Alien Enemies Act to deport some Venezuelan migrants that it claims are affiliated with the gang Tren de Aragua. Back in March, more than 230 alleged gang members were flown from Texas to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. CBS News has found that a majority of those men have no apparent criminal history. For more, let's bring in CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. Camilo, thank you for being here. So as we mentioned, this is the second judge to block the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act. A federal judge in Texas made a similar ruling last week. And these rulings are tailored to their districts, right? There aren't countrywide implications here.
They only apply to detainees in those respective parts of the country.
So can you explain to us this most recent ruling and what happens next?
It's still significant despite that limited relief, Lindsay, because it is the second time that now a federal judge has told the administration that when President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 back in March, he did not have the authority to apply it in this context because the administration is making this extraordinary legal argument that Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan prison gang, is right now orchestrating an invasion and predatory incursion into the country, and thus suspected members of that organization have to be summarily arrested, detained, and deported from the country and treated as wartime enemies. But these two judges have found that this gang indeed is not orchestrating any invasion or incursion into the country. They are participating, obviously, in crimes here and other illicit activity in the U.S., but that does not amount to a wartime offensive or invasion as the law calls for. And so the legality of this application of the Alien Enemies Act is very much still up in the air, and we should expect the Supreme Court to issue a final judgment on that question. Also on the amount of due process and notice that the administration is supposed to be given in offering to detainees process under this authority too.
Also, a federal judge today heard Trump administration's arguments in the cases of Rumeysa Ozturk and the case of Mohsen Madawi. These are two international students who had been detained. Ozturk in Louisiana, Madawi in Vermont. He was released on bail. What happened in court? Well,
the federal appellate court here in New York heard these two cases. In the case of Mrs. Ozturk, the Tufts University student, the court was weighing whether or not the Justice Department and the Trump administration should be required to move Mrs. Ozturk from Louisiana, where she has been detained for weeks, to Vermont, as a lower court judge ordered initially. That lower court order
She was initially arrested in Massachusetts. Is Vermont the location for the district court for that region?
She was sent to Vermont briefly before being sent to Louisiana. And that was when she was still in Vermont, rather, when they filed the habeas claim seeking her release. And so the judge initially said that ICE had to transfer her from Louisiana to Vermont, but that was stayed by the federal appellate court here. And now they're weighing whether to lift that stay or continue it. In the case of Mr. Madawi, the Columbia University student, the court was weighing whether or not the Justice Department has sufficient grounds to appeal the lower court order that led to his release a couple of days ago. And of course, the Trump administration is arguing that he poses a danger to his community, which was an argument that was rejected by the lower court judge. But there was no ruling today on it.
Okay, so we're still waiting for that. You have new reporting on the Venezuelan government and the gang Tren de Aragua. What can you tell us?
Well, in that proclamation that invoked the Alien Enemies Act, the president argued that not only was Tren de Aragua, the gang, orchestrating an invasion and incursion into the U.S., but that they were closely aligned with the repressive government of Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela, and that that government was directing that gang to essentially invade the U.S. But this declassified intelligence from the intelligence community here in the U.S. found that Tren de Aragua indeed is not being overseen or directed by the Maduro government. And so this undermines the legal rationale and argument that the administration is presenting in federal court to justify these Alien Enemies Act deportations.
Oh, okay. Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you.